Good morning! Let it be known that I'm in the kitchen at work, and the lighting is very bad, and I may need to move. But that's not what I'm here to talk about. So you've probably heard the really exciting casting news this morning that Lars Mikkelsen, older brother of Hannibal hottie Mads Mikkelsen, is going to be playing Charles Augustus Magnussen in the third season of BBC Sherlock. And this is really exciting, except for a bunch of people are going like, what does this mean? And why should I care? So let me let you in on a little secret. You should care because it's awesome. Charles Augustus Milverton is my favorite canon story, and I want to tell you guys all why, and give you a chance to understand why if you haven't read it. Which is why I'm going to record this video, which I am going to call Charles Augustus Milverton. Fuck that guy. I could go on and on about how, like, Charles Augustus Milverton is really full of blackmail and intrigue and housebreaking and this badass lady avenger, but I think we should just get right into it. This story begins innocently enough. Holmes and Watson are out for a walk on a wintry evening, and they come home and they find a mysterious calling card on their front step. The calling card bears the initials CAM. Watson is like, Holmes, do you know a CAM? I don't know a CAM. And Holmes is like, good. And Watson is like, why, whatever do you mean, good, Holmes? And Holmes is like, because he's evil. Holmes goes on to explain, for the benefit of both Watson and the reader, that Charles Augustus Milverton is basically the worst guy to ever have existed. He's a blackmailer, lives in London, and he basically makes money by paying people off to deliver him incriminating things such as letters, things that could cause the ruin of noble families or ruin marriages of promising young women. He pays great sums of money for this and then blackmails the family, the woman, whoever in question. And if they can't pay up, he hands the letters over as blackmailers do. And then that person is ruined. And that is how Charles Augustus Milverton makes his living. So, basically, not somebody that you want to be friends with. Watson is like, so why is he coming to our house then? And Holmes is like, I've been engaged to negotiate with him on behalf of a client, Lady Ava Blackwell. So, Lady Ava is about to get married, and she wrote some letters in her youth that could be considered sprightly to this guy who isn't her future husband. Milverton has the letters, he's threatening to ruin Lady Ava, basically a nasty situation. So Charles Augustus Milverton shows up a couple of minutes later, as villains tend to do, and he looks a little bit like Father Christmas, but evil. Anyway, he and Holmes exchange words. Holmes is like, why can't Lady Ava just show these letters to her future husband? He's not gonna dump her. And Milverton's like, are you sure about that? And Holmes is like, well, can you at least not make the price £7,000? I mean, she's not a wealthy lady. £2,000 would ruin her. And Milverton's like, well, she could always just, like, sell her diamonds or whatever. And Holmes is like, well, what good is it for you if you don't get your money? And Milverton's like, I've got a couple of other situations like this one maturing, so if I make an example of Lady Ava, people are gonna know that I am business. I am business. I mean business, but I am the business because I'm just that evil. So then Holmes finally loses his cool, and he's like, Watson, jump this guy and take his notebook and see what's in there, if the letters are in his wallet or something. And Milverton backs himself up against the wall and is like, I'm totally armed. Also, you didn't really think I'd bring the letters with me? What is with you? You're a hilarious guy. And then he leaves. Holmes is like, Watson, I really hate that guy. I'll be back. So, as he tends to do, Holmes adopts a disguise and is then in and out for the next few days, and Watson doesn't see a lot of him. When they finally get a chance to talk, it goes like this. Watson, have you ever thought of me as a marrying man? Why, no, Holmes. Well, it may surprise you to learn that I am engaged. Congratulations, old chap. Who is the lucky woman? Well, she is Charles Augustus Milverton's housemaid. You know, as you do. So Watson is kind of like, dude, are you serious right now? Holmes explains that it's all part of his evil plan, you know. Well, not evil plan, because Charles Augustus Milverton, as we all know, is the evil one. But Holmes now knows everything about Milverton's daily life and routine and the layout of his house that he needs to know. He also explains that his fiancée has another man vying for her affections, so that when he dumps her, he being Holmes, she will have a shoulder to cry on at least. Yeah, okay. So what is this all leading up to? Well, I am planning to break into Charles Augustus Milverton's house and steal the letters and destroy them. Dude! But Holmes is really excited about this idea. He explains that, you know, sometimes it takes one smaller evil to fight a greater evil, and that it's justified in this case, and he even has a burglarizing kit he's been getting together. And then they say two of my favorite lines in the entire canon. Watson says, you know, he asks when they're leaving. Holmes says, "You are not coming." And Watson says, "Well, then you are not going." Totally bros, right? I mean, really, is any friend really your friend if they don't offer to go rob a house with you? How cute. So anyway, they head out that evening. Holmes takes his burglarizing kit. They're both wearing masks. You know, it's gonna be a good time. Watson admits that the whole thing is kind of exciting. And everything is going okay, too. They get into Milverton's office just fine. Holmes is breaking into the safe, except there are a few lights on in the house that aren't supposed to be on. And then they hear footsteps and the voices of people who aren't supposed to be awake. So Holmes grabs Watson and pulls him aside and conceals them. But Watson notices that the safe is still open. Are they going to get caught? As it turns out, Milverton is too distracted to notice. He comes into the room with this lady in black, talking about, you know, how he's going to buy something from her, some kind of incriminating evidence that, you know, could cause the downfall of some other woman, when she unveils herself and he goes, "Ah, it's you!" And she's like, "Yes, it is me, the woman whose husband died after you gave him these incriminating letters. I loved my husband. Fuck you." And then she shoots him twice. She leaves. The household is kind of roused by the sound of the gunshots, of course. They make sure that Milverton is dead, Holmes and Watson, because, you know, they're nice guys. And then Holmes takes the letters, everything, out of the empty safe, all of the incriminating evidence Milverton could ever use to harm somebody, and throws it into the fireplace. And then they skedaddle. Now, Watson is not as fast a skedaddler as Holmes, so he almost gets caught, but they end up escaping over the back fence anyway, and it's all good. So the next morning, who should come calling at 221B Baker Street other than Lestrade? Lestrade is like, "Holmes, I don't know if you heard, but this guy got killed last night. His name was Charles Augustus Milverton. Maybe you heard of him? I don't really know." And Holmes is like, "Yes, I knew the man. Go on." And Lestrade is like, "Well, he kind of died in his home under mysterious circumstances, and we were wondering if you could help us look into it." And Holmes is like, "Well, and Lestrade says, "I mean, it's going to be a pretty easy case anyway. Like, two guys did it. We saw their footprints. One of them was too quick for us, but the other one of the gardeners got a look at. He has a thick neck and a mustache." Holmes is like, "Well, yeah, that's pretty vague. I mean, could be a description of Watson." And Lestrade is like, "You know what? It could be a description of Watson." And Holmes is like, "LOL." And Lestrade is like, "LOL." And Watson is like, "I really hate you guys right now." Well, anyway, Holmes says, "Well, you know, I kind of knew that Milverton, you know, the one who's dead, and he wasn't a really good person, so, fuck that guy." Then a couple of days later, Holmes and Watson are out for a walk, and Holmes has an epiphany as to who the woman who killed Milverton is. Now, the reader doesn't know, although of course that there's been Sherlockian speculation as to who it was, but, you know, her name is never revealed. She gets away with it. Holmes lets her get away with it. He's totally chill with this woman taking revenge on this guy who victimized her. And that's pretty cool. It shows that Holmes's morality doesn't always line up with that of the law. What's also cool is that Charles Augustus Milverton is really just a story about things that keep happening. Like, you've probably been listening to the summary and thinking, like, why do all these things keep happening? And there's no real reason. They just kind of do. And it's cool. Like, you gotta go with it. I hope you enjoyed this. If you guys did, maybe I'll do some more in the future. But basically, the takeaway is, Charles Augustus Milverton, seriously, fuck that guy. Bye!